What's going on, guys? It's Larry with Packmasters Dog Training here. I want to touch on a couple of things here. Some issues some of you guys are having with your e-collar training. I was asked to speak about this topic because in the past month I've worked with several trainers, several professional trainers that have been avoiding using e-collars for many years for either one of two reasons. Either one, they've seen it being used as a punitive and corrective tool only, which we know we don't do, and that's never best case scenario for great results. And for two, they've just avoided it completely because of what they thought about it or preconceived notions about what the tool was all about. So the trainers I've worked with, and there's been several of them in the past month, they're really fantastic trainers, very high skilled trainers, you know, two of them with over 30 years experience, but they were completely turned off by this tool, but they figured they were going to give it a shot. So there were two little things that I switched that really helped them quite a bit, and so I'm going to pass that along to you guys. Okay, for one, you guys know how I use the e-collar. I'm not going to go through everything step by step. There's plenty of videos out there. But the two things that help these folks are as follows. For one, we all know one of the biggest issues with good e-collar training is contact. Making good contact on the dog with the e-collar. Most people, especially in the beginning, wind up putting the collar on way too loose and don't make good contact. Another issue I see people having is they're not brushing out the necks of the dogs. You got to keep the neck brushed, guys. You got to remove all the dead hair to make good contact. Also, everybody assumes that the longer the contact points, the better. That's not the case. Actually, the shorter the contact points that you can make good contact with is where you want to be. Here's why, guys. I had someone show up with, I think they were 1 inch or 1.5 inch contact points. That starts to be counterproductive after a while. Here's what happens. When you go to tighten that collar down, instead of getting closer to the skin, those long contact points just push the collar down or up. Okay, the receiver, think of the box. So when you go to tighten it, instead of coming straight in directly to the skin, you're pushing it down away and you're not making good contact. Stay away from those extra long contact points if you can. So you want to use the shortest contact points that make good contact, okay, if that makes any sense. Now, another thing that will help with the contact. Most people put the e-collar on the dog with the dog sitting in front of you. That's how most people do it. One little trick that's going to help you make much better contact is put your dog in a down, okay? Down your dog in front of you, put the e-collar on when the dog is in a down. The neck automatically goes to a better position, a more neutral position, and you get a better fit right from the start, as opposed to where they're sitting in front of you. Sometimes they're looking up or the head's to the side, and then the second the dog goes to move, the e-collar strap comes loose. Now, I don't care. This goes for regular straps on the e-collar, your cinch straps, your bungee cord, anything. Put the dog in a down, put the collar on that way. That will help, okay? Now, the one trick that really helped the folks that were struggling in the past month, no matter what they say, they have a hard time not thinking of this tool as a correction. They just really do. Even though they say, okay, they're ready to use it differently, they have a hard time. So in other words, they're giving commands, and when the dog doesn't do, they're using the e-collar, and that's the only, we wipe that away. That's not what we do, okay? That's not what we do. Not saying we can't correct the dog. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to give it time to teach what this tool is all about, okay? So there's one little trick that helped a great deal. I made all these trainers, every single one of them, train their new dogs with the e-collar like they were training a deaf dog, all right? Several of you out there train deaf dogs. It's not that uncommon. And people want to treat a deaf dog differently. I don't train deaf dogs any differently than I do a regular dog, except I'm not using verbal commands, all right? So that was the big key. Train every dog that they're coming in contact with till they get really comfortable like the dog was deaf. I'm going to give you an example. I'll use Halo, our German Shepherd puppy, as an example, what I did with Halo. You guys saw Halo's video of the first time he had the e-collar on, all right? You saw how I conditioned him like I do every other dog. It was a very basic, very simple video. Well, after that video, I did not put the e-collar on Luke on Halo for a few weeks. Not on purpose, not for any reason, except I just haven't had time. I've been really busy and haven't had time. But I also don't worry about it. I'm in no rush and it's no big deal. And teaching any of the obedience stuff is super, super easy. So it's not something I worry about, okay? So now the second time I put the e-collar on Halo, this is what I did. Completely different. I put him on a 15-foot line and we went for a walk. Not a walk next to me, not even a structured walk, maybe a semi-structured walk. But I'm just letting him be free, okay? As long as he's within 15 feet of the line, he can come and go wherever he wants. Now, what I would do is, when he was far enough away from me, I would press, I can't remember if I did it as a continuous or a tap, but it doesn't matter, okay? Let's just say I would tap the e-collar. So when he was away, I would tap the e-collar, no verbal command. The second he would turn around and come to me, I would mark it with a yes, and then I would reward. Now, you don't have to mark it with a verbal yes with a deaf dog. I know that's what you're thinking, but your dog really isn't deaf, okay? So that's what I would do. No command, and then he's free to go, and we walk. I would give it a good 90 seconds to 2 minutes later. I took it very, very slow. As we're walking, and he's roaming and sniffing like a puppy does, I would tap the e-collar one time, no command. The second he would turn and come my way, yes, and I would reward with food. Now, mind you, I only had this e-collar on him during that one day of the video you saw, but yet already he understands that if he feels that tap at this point in his life, all that means is to come to me and something good happens. Kind of the same thing we do with a deaf dog, okay? So let me repeat that. He feels the tap, and all he knows to do is to turn and come to me and get something good. So that's what I did till we got to the furthest part of our walk, and then we turn around to come back home, and I start over, except this time now, as he's walking around, I hold the continuous button down. The second he even begins to turn my way, I release the button on the e-collar, I mark it with a yes and reward. And again, I'm taking 90 seconds to 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes between repetitions till we get home, all right? So that was our second e-collar session, and he performed absolutely beautifully. See, up until this point, the way we teach it, his default response is that when he feels the e-collar in any which way, and we're still working at the lowest level possible, guys, remember that, he turns and comes to me, and something good happens, period. Okay, that's simple. Now, the third time I put the e-collar on, this time I did it in the driveway. We didn't go for a walk, but the same scenario, okay? I tap the e-collar, he comes, I reward, yes. But now he's a very sharp dog, and his obedience is very good already. So if I give him the recall, he's going to come to me. So I'm actually avoiding giving any commands at this point on purpose because I want to teach him what the stimulation from the e-collar means. And so he's understanding it very, very well. So what I do at this point is I add the place command, all right? And I start using the place command with it. He knows the place command very well, but now I can do the opposite. So instead of him coming to me every time he feels the e-collar, I'm teaching him you also have to go away from me when I ask you to, all right? So it's the same thing that we've done in all the other videos. So I give him the place command, I send him there, now I'm using the e-collar. Now he learns, okay, it's not only coming to him, I have to listen for the command. All right, very simple. That was my second lesson with him. And he's doing absolutely, absolutely fantastic. So by the third lesson, I took him off leash. And this is a little quick. I normally wouldn't do this with a client dog, but I wanted to see where he's at. So what I do when he's out running around on the grass, I tap the e-collar one time. He comes running. I say yes, I reward, and then I release him to go back to what he's doing. All right? Because I don't want him coming to me and then just we're going back inside or ending what he's doing. So I'm going to reward him when he gets to me, and then I'm going to release him to go do what he wants again. And we practiced that several times. And guess what? By the third lesson, he's coming to me every time, even around distractions with people walking down the street and stuff. So for the people who are struggling, give it a shot. Go out there and train your dog like it's deaf. Because it's what I notice is when someone's working with a deaf dog, they really pay attention a little more to what the dog is doing, how the dog is responding. They put a little more effort into it instead of being sloppy. Because if you remember when I trained Luca with the e-collar, my Malinois, that was the most difficult dog I ever trained with the e-collar. You know why? Because when we go outside, he's on me. He's on me the whole time. He doesn't take his eyes off me. He's excited. He wants to work. He wants to be with me. He doesn't care what's around. So how do I start with a recall with that? I can't. So for Luca, to condition the e-collar, I had to teach the place or go away from me command first. That's how I conditioned Luca to the e-collar, to go away from me. And then see, once he was on the place command, then I could use it to teach the recall that way. He already knew the recall, but I'm teaching the e-collar that way. You see what I'm saying? So guys, you have to adjust to the dog's abilities. You have to adjust. The e-collar training's a lot easier with a dog that completely ignores you and blows you off and doesn't give a shit about what you're doing. That's easy. You can make instant progress and look like a genius. But when you take a dog whose obedience is already real sharp and he's on you and they don't want to go away from you, that's where people struggle. That's where people struggle. So for all the trainers that I've worked with for the past month, you guys are doing great. But for everyone listening out there, give it a shot. The next regular dog you work with, go out and train that dog as if it was a deaf dog and watch what happens to that dog. All right? I'll share some videos of Halo here real soon. Sorry, it's been a while. But I hope this helps, guys. Peace.